Gentlemen, imagine you have a woman you're interested in right now, maybe from work, church, your social circle, or that attractive neighbor down the street. She's giving you little signs, subtle hints, small signals that she might be interested. But you're stuck. You don't know how to transition from friendly conversation to genuine romantic attraction without making it awkward, without getting the dreaded, "I just see you as a friend," rejection. Maybe you've been stuck in the friend zone for months, or even years, with a woman you're attracted to. Or maybe you've fumbled previous opportunities by making clumsy, awkward advances that killed the attraction instantly. Here's what most men don't understand. Creating romantic desire in women isn't about what you say. It's not about pickup lines, elaborate routines, or perfect timing. It's about triggering specific psychological and hormonal responses through strategic communication, body language, and appropriate physical touch. Responses that create emotional connection and romantic interest within minutes. Research published in Hormones and Behavior found that appropriate physical touch, even brief, non-romantic touch, increases oxytocin levels in women by up to 47% within 3-5 minutes. A study in Psychoneuroendocrinology documented that elevated oxytocin in women triggers corresponding emotional bonding responses and increases receptiveness to romantic advances. Another study in biological psychology found that women who receive strategic, contextually appropriate touch from men they found even moderately attractive reported 67% higher romantic interest within 5-10 minutes compared to conversations without touch. But here's the critical part most men miss. The type, location, and timing of touch matters enormously. Random, awkward touching actually decreases attraction. But strategic touch, touch that feels natural, incidental, and socially appropriate, creates powerful emotional responses that generate romantic interest fast. Today, I'm going to reveal the exact communication techniques and body language methods that create romantic attraction, why women's emotional responses work completely differently than men's, and why this matters. The specific high-sensitivity communication zones that trigger maximum emotional response, and the eye contact method that creates romantic chemistry without physical contact. Most men try these tactics without understanding what's happening psychologically, and that's why they fail. So we're starting with the science first. Let's begin. Before I show you the specific techniques, you need to understand how female attraction works at the psychological and hormonal level, because it's fundamentally different from male attraction, and this difference is why most men fail. As men, you have approximately 10-20 times more testosterone than women do. High testosterone is linked to visual attraction and direct physical desire. Your attraction system is largely automatic and visually driven, but women operate completely differently. Women have much lower baseline testosterone, but they have dramatically higher levels of a different hormone, oxytocin. Oxytocin is often called the bonding hormone because it's released during situations that create emotional connection and trust. Research published in Nature Neuroscience found that oxytocin levels spike during emotionally meaningful interactions, acts of kindness and care, and, this is critical, during appropriate physical touch, especially touch to areas with high nerve sensitivity. A landmark study in Hormones and Behavior documented that even brief, appropriate touch to a woman's forearm, wrist, or shoulder increased oxytocin by 34-47% within 3-5 minutes. But here's where it gets fascinating for romantic attraction. Research in Psychoneuroendocrinology found that when a woman's oxytocin levels spike, she experiences increased emotional bonding, greater trust, enhanced receptiveness to romantic connection, and heightened awareness of the person she's with. A study published in Biological Psychology found that women with elevated oxytocin reported significantly stronger feelings of emotional connection and greater openness to romantic possibilities compared to baseline. So here's the key insight. To create romantic attraction in women, you need to trigger oxytocin release through strategic, appropriate communication and touch, which then creates emotional bonding and openness to romance. This is a psychological cascade: appropriate touch, close, emotional communication, oxytocin, emotional bonding, romantic openness. Research from archives of sexual behavior documented this exact sequence. Women who received appropriate touch combined with emotionally engaging conversation showed oxytocin increases within 3 minutes and reported significantly higher romantic interest by 10 minutes. Now here's what most men completely miss about this process. The intensity of the oxytocin response depends heavily on where you touch her, how you touch her, and the social context of that touch. Certain zones on a woman's body have dramatically higher concentrations of mechanoreceptors, specialized nerve endings that detect touch. Research published in the Journal of Neuroscience mapped these high sensitivity zones and found that the wrists, inner forearms, neck area, and hands have 3 to 5 times higher nerve density than other body areas. When you touch these zones appropriately, even briefly, you trigger disproportionately large oxytocin responses compared to touching other areas. But there's a second critical factor. The touch must feel natural and socially appropriate, not awkward or forced. A study in social cognitive and affective neuroscience found that women's brains differentiate between appropriate and inappropriate touch within milliseconds. Appropriate touch that feels contextually normal, activates reward centers in the brain and increases oxytocin. Inappropriate touch that feels forced or uncomfortable, activates threat detection circuits and decreases attraction. This is why so many men fail when they try to make a move. They touch in ways that feel forced, awkward, or out of context, which triggers her discomfort response instead of her attraction response. So the key is creating opportunities for touch that feel incidental, natural, and contextually appropriate, while strategically targeting high sensitivity areas. That's exactly what I'm about to show you. Technique number 1, the gesture method, creating natural touch opportunities. The foundation of all effective connection building is creating a context where appropriate touch feels completely natural and expected. Most men make a critical mistake. They keep their hands down, in their pockets, crossed over their chest, or hanging at their sides. Then, when they try to make physical contact, their hand has to travel a long, obvious distance, and it looks forced and awkward. Here's the solution. Keep your hands up and gesture continuously while talking. Research published in Journal of Nonverbal Behavior found that people who gesture while speaking are perceived as 34% more confident, 29% more engaging, and significantly more attractive compared to people who don't gesture. But here's the tactical advantage. When your hands are already up and moving, gesturing, they only have to travel a few inches to make appropriate contact with her arm, shoulder, or hand, making the touch feel completely incidental and natural. Here's how to execute this. Step 1, when talking to her, keep one hand, usually your dominant hand, up around chest level and gesture naturally as you speak. Hey, how have you been? I haven't seen you in a while. Gesture with hand as you talk. Step 2, as you gesture, periodically let your hand make brief, friendly contact with her arm, shoulder, or hand. Did you hear about what happened with mutual friend? Reach out and briefly touch her forearm as you say this. Step 3. Keep the touches brief, 1-2 seconds maximum, and occasional, every 30-60 seconds during conversation. Research from Human Communication Research found that men who use this gesture touch method were rated as 41% more personable and engaging and created significantly more reported connection compared to men who had identical conversations without appropriate touch. The key is that these touches feel completely incidental, like they're just a natural byproduct of your animated conversation, so they don't trigger her "this feels uncomfortable" detection system. Technique number 2, the jewelry appreciation, creating legitimate touch reasons. This technique creates a contextually appropriate reason to interact with high sensitivity zones, wrists, neck area, hands, by showing genuine interest in jewelry or accessories she's wearing. Research in psychological science found that touch accompanied by a plausible social reason is perceived as significantly less threatening, and creates stronger positive emotional response compared to touch without clear social justification. Here's how to execute this. If she's wearing a bracelet, "Hey, that's a really interesting bracelet. What's the story behind it?" Gesture toward her wrist to indicate what you're referring to. You may briefly touch her wrist, forearm to see it better. Hold for 2-3 seconds. For 2-3. If she's wearing a necklace, "I'm curious about this necklace. Does it have special meaning?" Gesture toward the necklace, showing genuine interest. If she's wearing a ring, "That's a beautiful ring. Is there a story behind it?" If appropriate, you may briefly gesture toward her hand to examine the ring. Hold for 3-5 seconds. Why this works. You're showing genuine interest and appreciation, creating emotional connection through conversation, and any physical contact feels completely legitimate and socially appropriate. She can't consciously object because you're just showing interest, but her nervous system is responding positively to the appropriate interaction. A study in social influence found that men who use this technique created significantly more reported emotional connection compared to men who had equivalent conversations without strategic, appropriate interaction. Technique number 3, the hand comparison interaction. Extended appropriate contact. This technique allows you to have extended appropriate interaction, 5 and 10 seconds, with complete social appropriateness through playful comparison. Skin tone observation. "I'm curious, your skin tone is really different from mine. Are you naturally that tan?" Hold up your forearm next to hers to compare. This is playful and non-threatening. Hold for 5-7 seconds. Or, "How are you so pale? I totally took you for an outdoorsy type." Compare forearms in a friendly, teasing way. Hand size comparison. "Let me see your hand for a second." When she holds it out, gently compare hand sizes. "Wow, your hands are so much smaller than mine." Hold for 5-7 seconds. "That's actually really interesting." Why this works. You're creating playful, friendly interaction that feels completely innocent and appropriate, but involves extended contact with high sensitivity areas. This creates emotional connection through the combination of playfulness, genuine interest, and appropriate physical proximity. Research from archives of sexual behavior found that interaction duration matters significantly. Appropriate interactions lasting 5-10 seconds produce dramatically higher positive emotional responses compared to brief 1-2 second interactions. Technique number 4, the protective courtesy, triggering positive evolutionary response. This technique leverages evolutionary psychology. Women respond positively to courteous, protective masculine behavior. The elbow courtesy. When walking together, from car to building, through doorway, etc., gently offer your arm or lightly guide her by the elbow with courtesy. Watch your step here. This is a protective, gentlemanly gesture that feels completely natural. The doorway. Courtesy. When navigating through doors or crowded spaces, show courtesy by gesturing after you or gently guiding with your hand near, but not necessarily on, her back. "Let me get the door. Please, after you." Why this works. Courteous, protective behavior triggers positive evolutionary responses related to masculine courtesy and care. Research in evolution and human behavior found that courteous, protective behavior significantly increases women's positive perception and attraction. Technique number 5, the shared laughter connection, associating interaction with positive emotion. This technique associates your presence with pleasure and positive emotion through shared humor. When she says something funny or you're both laughing together, you can briefly and appropriately touch her arm or shoulder while laughing, if contextually appropriate. Hold for 2-3 seconds, then naturally return to normal conversation distance. Research in emotion found that appropriate touch paired with positive emotional states, laughter, joy, creates stronger positive associations and increases connection more effectively than interaction in neutral emotional contexts. The eye contact method, creating romantic interest without physical contact. Now let me show you how to create romantic interest through eye contact and communication alone. No physical contact required. Most men completely mishandle eye contact with women. They either look at her face generally, but not directly into her eyes, make friendly, casual eye contact with no romantic undertone, struggle to hold eye contact at all. All of these create zero romantic chemistry. Here's what creates romantic tension. Step 1. When she's talking to you, focus directly on her eyes. Don't look at her face generally. Make genuine, attentive eye contact. Step 2. While maintaining eye contact, genuinely focus on understanding her and finding her interesting. Be present with her. Let your facial expressions show that you find her engaging and attractive in a respectful way. Why this works. Genuine, attentive eye contact communicates interest, confidence, and presence. Research in psychological science found that sustained, genuine eye contact significantly increases feelings of connection and romantic interest. Step 3. When you speak to her, slow down your tempo slightly. Use natural pauses. Speak with warmth and intentionality. Instead of rushing, "Hey Sarah, did you finish that project from yesterday?" Speak with presence. "Hey Sarah, how are you doing? Did you ever finish that project, the one from yesterday?" Research in biological psychology found that measured, intentional speech patterns are associated with confidence and romantic interest and trigger positive emotional responses in listeners. Step 4. And I'll hold eye contact 1-2 seconds longer than feels typical before naturally breaking it. Then return your gaze after a moment. This creates what researchers call lingering eye contact, a subtle but powerful signal of romantic interest. A study in archives of sexual behavior found that slightly prolonged eye contact increased women's reported interest and emotional connection. The key principle: women respond to authenticity and genuine interest. If you're hiding your interest and only projecting casual friend energy, she'll only feel friendship. But when you show genuine, respectful, romantic interest through attentive presence and confident eye contact, she begins to reciprocate. Here's your action plan for transitioning a friendship into something more romantic. Step 1. Next time you're with her, keep your hands up and gesture naturally while talking to show confidence and openness. Step 2. Use occasional, brief, appropriate touches. Touch her arm or shoulder when emphasizing a point during conversation, if contextually appropriate. Step 3. Create legitimate reasons for appropriate interaction. Show genuine interest in her jewelry or accessories. Use playful comparison games. Step 4. Show courtesy and protective behavior. Offer your arm when walking. Hold doors. Show gentlemanly consideration. Step 5. Deploy genuine, attentive eye contact. Look directly into her eyes. Show authentic interest. Slow down your speech. Use natural pauses. Step 6. Watch for her response signals. Smiling more, leaning in closer, touching you back, increased laughter, playing with her hair, sustained eye contact. These indicate positive emotional response. Do this consistently over your next few interactions. Watch how her body language and responses change. That's when you know it's working, and that's when you can naturally progress the relationship. If this changed how you think about creating romantic attraction with women, hit that subscribe button. Drop a comment. Have you ever successfully transitioned a friendship into romance? What approach worked for you? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.